So what is initiated interviews is use the open-end interviews insight into in-service and pre-service teachers' attitude toward inclusions. This included the follows is A. Tell me about working with your children in your classroom. B is tell me your attitude toward working with children with disabilities. And C is tell me what influenced your attitude toward working with children with disabilities. And D is tell me about your education and experience with inclusive classrooms. So the interviews range in length from 1 to 1.5 hours at the participant's workplace or a student's teaching placement. So the length is about 2 hours, and they do this research, and they do the observation in this whole setting class. So you can see the observations, the series of the observations were detailed in descriptive objects, written notes, and were meant to capture the teachers in her natural environment and minimize the individual minimums each teacher was observed during a group time, free play, outside time, and meals or snacks. So observations were conducted during their about 6 weeks. And a footnote, after each observation, the research record footnotes to identify and capture the thought and the feelings she had about the observation and the situation that occurred. And the follow-up interviews questions about as for the teacher as below. First is were your interactions with the children's typical and in what ways? And second is was the children's involvement in the activities and interaction with each other typical of their behaviors? And third is was this a typical day in the classroom? So you can see the from this exercise a description of each of the 4 teachers' attitude toward inclusion's involvement based on the comparison of response. So figure 1, you can see these figures. It illustrated these data analysis procedures. The composition for both groups were then compared and identified overall themes. So they compare these two these 4 peoples into different groups. And you can see the table 2. That is the chain of evidence metrics for the data sources analyzed for these studies. So the themes supported by 3 or more data entries are presented for each participant individually with the original sources document. Also, report in bold lettering is evidence that either contradicts or did not fully support the theme. If only 1 or 2 data sources represent a theme, it was not reported in the matrix, but in the individual case, discussed only, so not present in this report. So that is, you can see the overall theme. There's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 questions in this chain of evidence matrix. So you can see the result. The following things were identified. A is children with and without disabilities were involved in the classroom activities. B is teachers' attitude appear to be influenced by experience in inclusive classroom. And C is teachers address children's individuals' needs in the classroom activities. And D is teachers facilitate family involvement, and E is resources and personnel were available in the classroom. So you can see the A, B, C, D, E 5 question is in this table too, the overall themes. And these studies examined teachers' attitude toward inclusion and how their attitude were reflected by their behavior in the classroom. The content of each of the data sources were analyzed for each case individually, and then categories by theme. So it is by the 5 things. Okay. And the quantitative studies procedure a vast amount of information for each participant and theme. Because of the nature of the report, the items that most strongly support the themes will be presented, identifying the participants. So Roe and Mary, or Tina and Neil, and the data sources. Roe and Mary is in-service teacher, and Tina and Neil is pre-service teachers. Okay. And in the conclusion, this inclusion is considered best practice in early childhood education, and it is a philosophy and practice that will continue into the future. This study addresses teachers' attitude toward inclusion and how those attitudes are reflected in their behavior in the classroom. Okay, and thank you. Thank you for your attention. That's all my presentation. So, do you have any questions? I would like to answer you.
How many of you know about inclusion classroom?